Let's get the meeting underway. Good evening, everybody. It's Monday, November 19, 5:30 p.m. We will get the Human Rights Commission meeting underway. First order of business is the mission statement. Who would like to read the mission statement today? Mr. Gross, thank you.
I knew you were going to do that. No, I'm glad to, especially because I actually found it. Go away. Okay, welcome everybody. The mission statement of the Human Rights Commission for the City of Palm Springs, California is as follows. The mission of the Palm Springs Human Rights Commission is to promote and protect the diversity of our community and to improve human relations through education and community awareness.
Very good, thank you.
You are welcome.
Roll call, Dan?
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
We have a quorum, thank you. Now we move on to item 4, public comments. Any person who wishes to speak on a topic within the city's jurisdiction during this portion of the agenda must file a speaker card with the staff liaison before that portion of the agenda is called. Although the commission values your comments pursuant to the Brown Act, it generally cannot take any action on items not listed on the posted agenda. Commissioners will not enter into discussion with speakers, but during commission comments may refer the matter to staff for report and recommendation at a future commission meeting. And we do have one speaker card that has been submitted by Bill McCarthy. Bill, if you'd like to step up to this chair here and push the little button on that mic, you can. Well, we need to get your voice. So you're on TV.
Okay.
Well, so all the folks in the TV land can see you.
Okay. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Bill McCarthy. I'm the president of Unity Foundation, which is a 42-year nonprofit that promotes world peace, cooperation, and unity. We work with the United Nations on these issues. And I'd like to introduce the commissioners to the work that we do specifically around human rights. During our history, we produced or managed events with campaigns promoting civil rights, LGBT rights, women's rights, and Native American rights. We produce the annual Peace Day global broadcast that streams live from the UN all over the world promoting peace and sustainability. The Peace Channel, which is the vehicle, we actually do 5 broadcasts a year, and this year, for the first time, we're doing a human rights broadcast on the 10th of December, which of course is Human Rights Day, and specifically this year is the 70th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is of course the main human rights document on the planet, so it's a very special time. So on that day, for 24 hours, if you go to peacechannel.com, you'll see all of this wonderful content about human rights. And I have passed out already a flyer about that and a Unity card with on the back is the Peace Channel. And then the other thing we do, we also produce a monthly television show called Positive Spin, which presents, believe it or not, positive news from around the world. Positive, innovative, and solution-oriented news. And it's been on for 20 years. It airs nationally on Dish Network and DirecTV and streams from freespeechtv.org. And much of the content has to do with either peace or human rights. For instance, in December, Positive Spin will be doing a segment on Morehouse College, a promotional video from the UN promoting LGBT rights, and an interview with a U.S. expatriate living in Mexico. So we take all of these issues very strongly and personally. It's very, very important, and I'm so happy to know that there's a Human Rights Commission in Palm Springs, and this is also where we're located. So I just wanted to share that with you, just so you get to know who we are. The other card here is for the Positive Spin television show and all the ways that you can see it. And my partner there, who's also my husband, is also the videographer and editor for the show. He didn't bring the big camera today because we thought it would be a little bit much. But anyway, I'm so glad to be here, and thank you for this opportunity.
Excellent, thank you. So is content originated in Palm Springs?
Some of it is.
Oh,
And actually, if you have, a special event, like I know that you give awards once a year, that might be something that would be worth covering. You know what I mean? In Palm Springs, people are honored for their service to the community.
excellent.
So, that would be something, if you would like, that we could do that. And I also noticed your next meeting is right on December 10th, which is the historic 70th birthday of the Universal Declaration.
It's done on purpose.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Okay, we've got another speaker today. Paul Henrickson is next up to bat. Paul? Frequent flyer, welcome back.
Thank you, Commission. Glad to be here.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for your support for the TRP, which went into effect on Saturday. So it's really great to have that. So thank you again for all of your support. So the next chapter is going for a citywide no smoking ordinance in the city, and we have a copy here, and we'll present it to the commission liaison, and you may have already seen it in the past from us, from emails. And so the Human Rights Commission is key in this because smoking causes a lot of problems for people who are young, who are older, who have health issues. And when they live in close proximity, such as in multi-unit housing, it's a problem. That's why the federal government has made all of their HUD housing smoke-free in the United States. That was as of August 2nd of this year that it went into full effect. And also people with lung issues, heart issues, and so many other things. The discrimination that they face going to public events, or if they're at a restaurant and they're still smoking on patios of bars and restaurants, which there are here in Palm Springs, or going to public events like Pride or the Veterans Parade or other parades. Many cities have already adopted smoke-free public events, smoke-free queues, such as at bus stops and ATM lines and so many other things, movie lines, as well as in parks and on patios of restaurants, bars, and other businesses. And so we're looking to bring that here, and we're looking for your support so that we can do something about the discrimination that people suffer as a result of secondhand smoke here in Palm Springs. So we look forward to getting your support on that. And
I have a question for you.
Sure. I think we're on the agenda. So.
Oh, are you?
So shall we?
Okay.
Would you prefer that the questions are saved for the agenda time, and then I'll let my
Very good.
husband come up and speak in public comment. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, it's item F. And next, we have another speaker, Bob Heinbaugh. Bob, have you up to the microphone, please? Welcome.
Thank you. Once again, it's a pleasure to be here for the commission. We thank you for your support for the TRP. We really appreciate that, and it's good to be back. One of the places that we traveled to was all the way down to San Diego. And in San Diego, we attended the American Public Health Association's convention where there were 16,000.
That's not you.
This what, please?
That's not you. Go ahead.
Oh, it's not me? Okay, there were 16,000 public health officers from all around the United States and some from outside the country who were there to witness to the health of people in the country. And it was amazing. One of the areas that they had, and this is the teacher coming out in me, one of the areas that they had off to the side was called the posters. And I thought, what is this? It must be a poster competition of some sort where people were drawing posters and there's going to be this competition. it turned out that there was probably about 15 to 20 rows of billboards, and the participants put their posters, which were laminated, on each side of the billboards, and as you walked down, they were numbered 2056.2, 4, 5, 6, whatever it was, all the way. And each side of the billboard was a specific issue, and it was the research done on a specific topic. So as you went down one side, it was the impact of secondhand smoke on infants, or it was the impact of secondhand smoke on primary school students as they grew up in a specific minority neighborhood or socioeconomic bracket or something like that. I was overwhelmed. It took us, Paul and I, it took us about 2 hours to go through all of these things, and we went at a rather rapid pace. As we got to the end, the first row that we went down, they started taking the posters down to put up another entire set of posters, and they did this 3 times during the time that we were there. And the convention went on for, I think it was 4 or 5 days, and every day, 3 times a day, posters went up and posters came down. Now, in all fairness, this wasn't always about tobacco. It was about any kind of health issue that you could imagine. But tobacco and secondhand smoke was one of the primary concerns that we listened to at just not the poster part of it, but also with the exhibitors. And the exhibitors were from commercial exhibitors. The far side of the room was probably 15, 16 rows of colleges and universities, and they were all there eliciting people to enroll in their public health programs. And what were they talking about? Tobacco and the effects that the tobacco industry is having on the health and well-being of people in this country. I wish you could have been with us. We thought about you every step that we took through that entire conference. Thank you again for your time, and we look forward to more conversations with you on tobacco.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Okay, there's no more speaker cards. Thank you to those who did speak today. Next up is item 5, approval of minutes. And actually, we've got February, March, April, May, and June. Did everybody see March, April, May, and June?
Well, I have a process, well, both question and, or whatever, observation. First off, my fault. I didn't, oh, excuse me. Yes, I do have a minute approval process question. This one's actually on me. I just discovered with Jay's help that I've been inadvertently missing some of the emails that come from Annie, and I did not get the email with the minutes, the draft of the minutes anyway, attached. So I've not had a chance to review those, but, and because there's a whole raft of them, here's my suggestion, process-wise. Could we table this to our next meeting? We've already, had months, and I'd like the opportunity, now that I know why I haven't been finding them, now that I know how to find them, to actually go and actually take a good look at them. Does that make sense process-wise? I'm kind of looking in Ron's direction as well as your.
Sure. Let's see what other comments we've got around the table. Any other comments or suggestions? Do we feel comfortable tabling or approving today?
I'd like to point out, as Jim had mentioned, that the last month's meeting, we had the 3 months. We had February, March, and April. And also a similar situation, not everyone had the opportunity to study those first 3 months. I mean, basically, it's just an overview of your discussions. There was, I don't believe, any formal motion or action taken. We may be able to, separate some of them and kind of whittle down the number, but I mean, I would imagine that we'll be able to bring forward July and August next month, so it's really going to back up things. So if there's a comfort level of maybe chiseling away at a couple of these or a few of them.
Can I just add to that? There are the meetings from February and March. Ryan and Terry are not on these, so maybe does it have to be a quorum, and that way we could get 2 done today?
They're sitting commissioners, they can
Oh,
vote or
okay.
abstain.
Did you get to look over the ones that you were not
Yeah,
present for?
I don't have any objection for any of them.
Yeah, I don't either, except for the one that I wasn't here and May, but I looked over it.
And I didn't see, it's like Dale said, it's just reporting of conversation. So if we don't have any feeling that there's concern that we need to address or make any modifications, my suggestion would be let's push them out so they can get posted, unless we feel strongly that we should wait another month. But there was no of action. They did a good job reporting the information.
And the point of clarification, Jim had mentioned that he looked on the website, and I reminded him they're not posted to the website until the commission approves them. So as you notice, it's stamped for your approval. So once you do approve them, that's when they are posted to the web page under Human Rights Commission.
How about we do this? How about we push, we ask for a motion to approve February, March, and April, and then we'll table May and June until the next meeting, since we've been sitting on February, March, and April for some time. So motion from the commission to please accept February, March, and April. And second?
Yeah, I'll second that for you.
Any discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? And any abstentions? Excellent. Thank you very much. So we'll bring May and June to December and take care of those at that point in time. So Jim, let's also make sure that your email communication. Sweet.
We figured it out fine.
It's already fixed. See how good you are?
Yep.
All right, now let's go on commissioner comments. Item number 6, starting with Commissioner Michio.
Just wanted to say congrats to Jim on the successful Senior Resource Day. I wasn't there personally, but I did hear some commentary and feedback that it was really well received. So just wanted to say congratulations to you. And then thanks to my fellow commissioners that were at the Pride Parade with me. There was, I think, 4 of us there and charging that banner down the street. So
Putting it back together as we walk,
yeah.
wiggly jiggly.
So that was a good time. So thank you for that. That's it.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, just hey, Terry, we're looking earlier.
Jim, your button.
Terry, we're looking earlier for that beautiful video you did of Senior Resource Day. I couldn't quickly find it on my Facebook. We'll have, okay, you guys, okay, good. Yeah, because I thought, well, now it's my turn to thank Terry, because you probably haven't seen the little video. I didn't even know she's doing it.
Well, I didn't even think to do it until halfway through the program. I really apologize.
However, it arrived.
It turned out okay.
It turned out
okay.
beyond
Yeah.
okay. I thought it turned out really well, given all that. So anyway, I'm glad to know that we can look at it together at our December
Yeah.
meeting. That'd be
And
great.
I want to add my congratulations to the
Well,
work
thank
you did. Really, really great.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sandrasina, any comments? Items you'd like to bring forward?
No comments at this time.
Sweet.
Yep, I'm good.
Vice Chair? No. Good to go. Dale, anything? Jay, you've got anything to bring forward today? All right. I echo the comments on the participation with the Pride Parade. I think the commission had a beautiful presence in that, so thank you, and to those that aren't here, thanks for their participation. Special shout out to Nikki, even though she's not here, as the sole representative of the commission who was able to represent at the Veterans Day Parade. And I know she's going to be bringing the conversation on commitments for Black History participation. So if we could get as much participation in that parade as possible, that would be appreciated. And again, echo to congratulations to the Mizell Center and Jim, Suzanne over there, and Jenny Fote for a really well-organized program on the Senior Resource Fair.
Thank you for your help too.
Yeah.
You were part of that. Thank you.
You were the one who took the lead, so you did a great job, so thank you. Okay, so that's it for our comments, and now we're on to item 7, items for discussion. Master calendar. We've got Commissioners Andrade and Michio on board.
Yeah, I believe that we're going to be taking this over. However, I think we still need to have the baton handoff from the previous owner of this item. So with that said, we have nothing to report on it.
So what's required to have a baton handoff?
Well, I guess what the expectations are for this collateral item, because I think that my understanding initially was to take over the actual administrative editing, handling of the calendar that comes out to the group, but then I'm not sure if it also includes things like the parade registrations and that sort of administrative paperwork. That wasn't entirely clear at the outset, for me anyway. I'm not sure about Terry.
Same, I wasn't sure either. I mean, what comes with the baton? So I think we probably need a little bit of information, and we just talked about that a little bit, Jessica and myself, and.
Would you have time today after the meeting to talk about it?
Sure.
Okay.
So we'll bring some clarity to it. So the baton has tossed, and you two we look to you to be the ones to coordinate the commission participation in any event you bring forward that is on the calendar. And that means, from a registration standpoint, that means anything involved with coordinating the commission's participation and soliciting the support and participation from other commissioners.
Okay.
So that would rest with you on that subcommittee.
Okay.
And that's immediate, it's not at the end of Commissioner
started last
Chandrasina's?
month.
It started last month. Oh, so we're really.
You hit the ground running. So the next thing up is the Black History Day Parade. And I believe, I'm not sure we are registered on that one. Do you know?
No.
So that would be the first thing. And today, I think, let's see what type of participation we've got from the commissioners. And then Dale can make sure you've got the link for registration for the parade. But it's very simple and easy. It's not a long, detailed process. The bigger thing is just making sure you get commission lined up participation. And let's not get hung up on walking. I think that has been something that's a block for us. If we need a vehicle, then let's just coordinate having a vehicle so those with mobility issues can ride instead of walking.
Perfect.
So, okay? Yeah, beautiful. Excellent. Well, thank you for taking that on.
Okay.
Is it crystal clear for you?
Yep.
All right, sweet. Are there any other items that we want to add to the master calendar now that we're talking about it and we have new chairs at the helm?
Do you guys have the 1 PS picnic, the citywide picnic on the calendar?
March 23.
That is on there.
That's already there. Good.
Okay.
So next up is Black History Month, February 23, the parade and fair, and then 1 PS picnic, March 23, and the Harvey Milk Diversity Breakfast, May 17, but I would suggest we scratch that unless there's interest on the commission to keep it on the calendar.
But Ron, doesn't the commission sponsor that and formally attend
You know,
that
it
one?
was a hot issue last year, so I would suggest let's just remove it unless there's solid feeling from the commission to be there to support it.
Okay.
Well, there was mixed discussions about it, and some commission members even had made their own registration and would be able to secure a table for the commission itself. So you may want to give some further thought. Also, too, that there has been contributions received that we did kind of cover some of those costs, and I think we're going to be entering into the city budget process, and there's an interest to seek additional resources from the city that could offset some of your sponsorships. So that may be something you still wish to keep on the agenda for consideration.
So Dale brings up a good point. So let's look at 2019. If any funding is necessary, then you need to get with finance, which Ryan's not too far from, and make sure that that gets in the budget. So if we need to make a recommendation, we can make a recommendation on what that budget needs to be for city council. Okay. And we need that plenty early. So why don't you set your target that we have any recommendations going into February, so that can be carried forward. Okay. Beautiful. Subcommittee reports. Community outreach and marketing. Who would like to report on that?
So the subcommittee is starting up our regular meetings with each other again, which we're aiming to do, I think, the Thursday before the regular commission meeting, just to touch
On the
base.
6th of
Yeah.
December.
Yeah. So at that upcoming meeting, we're going to be talking about some of the various initiatives and efforts that we are thinking about, so that we can bring some proposals to the group. Like, for example, the movie screening fundraiser that we wanted to do. We want to kind of revisit that and look at the next plan or suggestion to carry that sort of event and execute that event. So we want to do that as we get into the new calendar year, but we're going to discuss how and when and all that. So things like that we'll bring forward to you at the next meeting.
Excellent. Specific notation parade coverage. So I talked about this just a little bit. So I think what we really just need to be able to follow through on is our presence at the events. The Pride Parade was a great showing of the Human Rights Commission, and the value of that exposure is I think everybody takes that and understands how important that is. But when we're at something like the Veterans Day Parade and there's one person, it makes it really difficult to really display and show the presence of the Human Rights Commission in the parade. We certainly would not want to get in that position for the Black History Parade. It's almost, if we know we will only have one person participating, then we probably as a group should decide that we're not going to participate in the parade, and maybe there's another way that we could participate. Because I think that may send the wrong message when we show up or we commit and then we don't have a presence.
So back on the Veterans Parade, I was stuck between here and New York and landed in Phoenix for a day. It was lovely. But there were only two of us originally scheduled to do that, and in hindsight, it would have ended up with one on the route with the banner. We couldn't have done that, so we should have caught that before the parade even kicked off, because we couldn't have done it with two.
We actually did have 3 that
we did?
had committed, and of course we can't, consider any unexpected events, but
and I think that this has been a piece that at least I think I brought up in this past year, is that the parade showing, I think I've actually talked about in the past too, is really light. We have a pretty good showing at Pride, and then we trickle down from there. And so we have talked about in the past, we have to decide either we do parades or we don't, but we can't. It just at the Veterans Parade last year we had 3, and it was hard for us to carry that banner. But, so this is a piece that we just keep revisiting.
Yeah. So you hear the importance, and I think it's, once we just communicate a little bit more here at the table, we'll be able to tackle that going forward.
Agree.
Next up, we've got Community Service Awards. Commissioner Gross, would you like to brief the commission on the subcommittee meeting?
Sure. Ron and I as a subcommittee. The reason
You're a green buddy.
I'm not green, am I? Okay.
Just leave it on green, Jim.
The reason I'm laughing a little bit is that the subcommittee did, in fact, meet. I think it was Friday morning. Was it not Friday morning? Yeah, I think it was Friday morning. But I'd actually forgotten that Ron and I were designated the subcommittee for that. So I just thought
Well, you
it was
didn't
just...
need to admit to that, but.
Well, no, I believe in full transparency. So in any case, Ron gently reminded me, and I was glad to be reminded. I'm glad to be officially and not just informally in the role. But anyway, let's get to the meat of what we discussed. The process we discussed was having the applications go out as soon as possible. In fact, actually, in our review today, and I believe you all have a copy of the application, our proposed application form. When I'm done speaking a little bit, we can entertain a motion to approve that form. And then, Jay, we would be asking you to begin to get that circulated. And of course, we can help with that with the due date of December 6th. And this is all in preparation for our next Human Rights Commission meeting, which, as we discussed earlier, will be December 10th. What we'd like to do is have the applications due on December 6th so that we can have a group of award nominees available for approval at our meeting at December 10th. And with that, then we can go ahead the process of telling our proposed awardees, I think that's correct, of their status, and go from there. What I didn't capture, and I'll look in Ron's direction to help me, I can't remember the date, or do we even have a date yet for the ceremony itself? Or that'll be our February 8th.
February 11.
Yeah, it'll be, that's right. So, February 11, which would be our February meeting, would be the date that we would offer the awards. So that's the process, and I would particularly, once we've approved this form, which we need to do in a minute, invite the rest of the commissioners to please fill out a form if you have a nomination in mind for one of the awards. We'd like to get the collected wisdom. For that matter, those in the general public, if you think there's some names that we should be considering for this annual award, please let us know, okay? And with that, I would invite, or I guess I can make the motion, no reason I shouldn't. I'll move that we approve the application form for the awards presentations in 2019.
Sweet, we have a second on that?
I'll give you a second for that.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
I have a question. So do the nominations come from this committee?
The public in general, so that's the
Okay.
purpose of us today, approving the process, and
Okay.
Dale will get it posted, and we will communicate with Amy Communications to do an initial announcement that nominations are open for the public.
Okay.
It will get posted on the city website, and then we are all encouraged to distribute the form into our sphere of influence, inviting the public to submit. So in addition to the public submissions, commissioners are invited to submit any recommendations also.
Okay.
And Jay, kind of question looking in your direction. Yeah, well, once we've approved the form, is there any reason why we, as commissioners, should not be circulating the form on our various social media pages, that kind of a thing?
No, that would be appropriate, and
Okay.
as well, in prior years, a number of the commissioners brought forward not just one, but maybe two honorees that they're recommending. So, I mean, in your sphere of network and those you come in contact with and work with, I mean, if you feel rise to the recognition, certainly include them.
Great.
Commissioner Andrade, did you finish your thought?
Well, I was just curious if you distributed these amongst maybe other boards and other committees and things like that. Is it all electronic submission, or do they return this? Because it says if you have, extra information, you can use an additional sheet. Do we pick them up? Are we responsible? They just come back to you, Dale, or, okay.
They just come back to me, whether it be by hand delivery or
However.
preferably by email. And then once we have the nomination period closed, they'll be forwarded on to the subcommittee, and they'll be reviewing those. As you see, there's individuals and there's groups. So each of them have a different criteria in which to
Category.
consider.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So anybody can be encouraged to drop it off at City Hall to Dale's attention or email.
Okay, thank you.
We don't have to be going around and picking them up.
Picking them up,
Actually, it's
okay.
probably better if we don't, if we just encourage them to independently.
And so Dale, then based on everything that was just discussed, after we approve the form, then you'll provide us with a template, electronic template, so we can circulate a blank form electronically?
The copy that I have now is a PDF. I don't have a Word document. Had it changed much from our prior,
Dates,
just the dates?
Just the dates.
and the link was bad,
Okay.
the link to the prior word on these.
I'll work on that.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, very good. Motion on the floor to accept the process for the annual awards program and the nomination form that's been submitted by the subcommittee. All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposition? Abstentions? Motion carries. Dale, we will ask you to move forward and post it far and wide. Thank you. Next up, we have finance. Commissioner Randolph's not here, so it lands back
It
on
sure
Ryan's
does.
shoulders.
It sure does. And
You're half the agenda.
Nikki and I have not had any recent discussion on this, so I have nothing new to bring forward on that particular subcommittee.
Okay. Excuse me, so if we can work on the timeline of February, so that means December and January, the committee needs to be coming up with any budget suggestions, and we have to put it on the February agenda for this commission to address any suggested change that we'll send to City Council.
Okay.
It seems like we've had stumbling block with this for a couple years. So if there are any changes and we want to make a recommendation, let's do it for February.
Okay.
Not to say that the recommendation is going to be heeded or will get approval, but
Right.
if we don't at least raise the flag, then, let's.
And let me remind you, the council liaison, Councilmember Hostage, had offered her assistance to bring that additional request forward to council. So probably if we could get that sooner than later, that would give her.
Is February not good?
February would be good, but we kind of.
We cannot move beyond February. So that's why just use that as a hard date. I think we'll run out of time if we don't have February.
Okay.
Okay? Beautiful. Ryan, why don't you just keep going?
Retreat.
I'm not sure if subcommittee has any update on retreat. Is there?
We don't, but we had held our extra time, and this past time, and talked about it, that if we have to schedule again, that we would just to try to catch up on points.
Are we scheduling again? Do we want to schedule more time? Are you going to add that to the agenda at the end, or where do we stand on
We
that?
had talked about it, and I can't remember what we agreed on. That's what I was looking for. Dale, do you remember how we left it? I think we said that we would.
Well, the difficulty we had is trying to coordinate everyone's schedule
Uh-huh.
and have a time where we
Right.
would have the annual retreat. This past year, typically we're dark in August, but because of scheduling conflicts, we chose August to go ahead and do the retreat. Just today, I got indication and heads up as to the council calendar for next year, 2019, and they are going to be dark in August.
Okay.
So, I mean, if, again, it's all scheduling, so as terms of when you want to be able to make sure everyone's availability.
Well, Ryan and I have a couple of things to catch up on. So I think that he and I will try to schedule at the end of today to see if we can talk about a couple of those other things.
You got it.
So you'll come back with an update in December if we want to schedule a time, even during a regular meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. And I'm going to continue on this.
You want? I'll just keep going.
This line of addressing Commissioner Michio for student representatives update, please.
So this one's been a little frustrating and disappointing. You know,
That's the part that I thought that we could talk about again today at the end of today.
Okay, yeah,
That
for
one
sure.
and that one.
Because, you know, the commission revised the application self-nomination process for our student representative. It was sent to Palm Springs High School, Boys and Girls Club, various contacts that the commission and staff have around the city. And I've checked back a number of times, you know, months over months here. And the only response that somewhat promising came from Dee Dee Wilson Barton, who used to be on the commission, she explained, with a recommendation of a student at Palm Springs High. And so Dale hasn't told me we've gotten any applications in to him, so I'm assuming that means we've got none. So here we are with our original goal of trying to have a student seated in September or at least by October, but we haven't been able to get anyone interested. So, and I keep offering the school, if you want me to come over and speak with students, I will do that, but I'm not getting the response that I was hoping for, unfortunately. So I can't.
So can we talk about that again at the end of today? Because I've had some ideas about that.
Okay. Yes.
And if you're okay with it, can I join you for a few minutes as you begin the discussion? Because there are a couple ideas I've got perking. Which
Sure.
So we can increase our little team here, Jim, if you want on.
I'm not. I don't know I'm ready to bite that big of a hook.
Okay.
I just don't get discouraged. I think we just need to continue outreach, continue conversations, continue emails to the different contacts that you have now, the different teachers and counselors. It just repeated contact, repeated awareness. I think that's what it's going to take.
Sure. Well, and we'll keep doing that.
And as the entire commission is aware, just continue to do the same thing. If you find yourself with the student group, just raise the level of awareness so they know that there is a position that's available, okay?
I have personally gone and actually reached out to church groups and students who are involved, who actually go to Palm Springs High School, but I have not had response to it.
Yeah.
Yep, so let's just keep the outreach and don't get discouraged. It may be next September, but we'll stay on it. We've got a good process now, and a lot of work has gone into it to get it this far, so let's not be discouraged. Senior Expo Dependent Adult Bill of Rights Subcommittee. Mr. Gross, would you like to, is there anything else we need to address?
Actually, we covered a good deal of it here earlier in the meeting, so my thanks to commissioners who were there. Thank you very much for your support. That was noticed. We had, what didn't come up earlier, people were kind of coming in and out, but I believe we had right around 75 attendance, which we thought was very nice. And we pretty much did fill the room. I will be meeting, there's a separate discussion, they'll come early next year about whether, at least I believe, we haven't talked about it today, but I believe it's likely we could have an agenda item early next year about commission's position on whether to do it again, sponsorship, that kind of a thing. But we'll do an evaluation meeting with Mizell here, hopefully in the next week or two, while we still have reflections that are fresh from that meeting. But the one thing that is clear, at least to me, we'll see where we come out of that discussion, is very grateful for having it at Mizell, and that's all great in many ways, but we almost ran out of room, particularly if we have more, well, I don't think of them as vendors, because about 80% of them are also nonprofits that are providing service to the community, so I don't think of them as vendors. Be that as it may, that's a technicality on the wording side. But I think there may be a venue question that we'll need to look at. I don't think it's an insurmountable issue either, quite frankly. I think we could probably find, if we need to, another location for it. So there we go. And if anything comes of significance out of that evaluation meeting I'll have with Mizell, I'll certainly bring it back. But I think it'd be mostly discussion around the items I just kind of discussed now. Oh, one other thing too, that will be in the discussion. I don't know where the discussion will land. We did have a couple of three, I'll say participants rather than vendors, although in this case they're almost vendors, that are actually for-profit businesses. And it wasn't a big deal one way or the other this year or whatever. But I am aware, just because I was fielding a lot of the communications, that there are a lot of additional now I'm stuck with vendors, so quote-unquote vendors who would like to be a part of this, which is a good thing. But then again, there's a question, and it may come to commission at some point, but we want to have our evaluation meeting first over for-profit entities that are serving the senior community vis-a-vis nonprofits and community service agencies, governmental agencies, have that kind of a thing. So there's a discussion there that's likely in our future, so just plant that seed. And with that, I think that's soup.
So, Mr. Gross, do you have a recommendation to the commission that we continue with participation in the Senior Resource Fair for 2019?
Not yet. And
Okay.
that's part of what I want to have based on the evaluation discussion.
So let's ask that you come back in December with a recommendation. The
Okay.
subcommittee will meet after your review with the Mizell Center, because we need to give finance information for 2019, and we won't be able to wait until January, February.
Yep.
So December, we'll add to the agenda that the Resource Center conversation needs to be addressed, and we will decide if we want to continue it for 2019 participation and budgeting.
On the budget issue, the commission did approve $200 to assist with the program and the publicity, but Jim and his committee, small committee maybe, did have other resources that contribute that may create a shortfall if the commission doesn't absorb some of those additional costs.
There's going to be a cost next year, for sure. So
Yeah, there will be.
we'll just,
I think that's a very legitimate request
Yeah.
for us to come in December with that. I don't know that we'll have a full formal budget, but I think we can, for lack of a better term, a ballpark idea of what would be needed.
sometimes that has to be good enough.
There you go.
Thank you, sir. Okay, external committees. I know we had a couple meetings that people participated in this week. Desert Highland Gateway Estates Community Association had a very exciting meeting last week.
Yes, I was present at that meeting, and I have seen this. Actually, the participants in this meeting really grow, especially with the younger people in that community. Palm Springs High School has got a new principal, and I think it would be a great idea to invite him here too, to speak to us. He was present at the community meeting too. Other than that, there were issues pertaining to the community that was interesting to listen to.
What were the issues that they were addressing of the highest priority?
They were very concerned about the dispensaries that are coming up in their neighborhood, and a lot of the young people are more concerned about the effect it's going to have on that population in that area. Another issue they had was on sexual harassment at a given time at the high school, which was brought in to address to the principal at the high school. So, with what's happening in our country and in our communities, again, our young people need to be able to voice their opinions about these things. It was a very good place to do it.
I got a question for you, Jilska. You mentioned for the first item of concern, which you classified as around dispensaries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, I'm mindful of the mic and my legs here. Was it the dispensaries or is it the actual cultivation facilities?
It was both.
Both. Okay. I think it's
It was
important
the
then to name
smell
both.
from the dispensaries that's affecting the neighborhoods. And, you know, their concerns are legit.
Oh yeah. No, I don't have any dispute over the validity of the concern. No, that isn't the point. It's just that I want to be sure that inadvertently there isn't an impression that it's only dispensaries, that it is dispensaries, and as you clarified, cultivation facilities as well.
Yes.
Because my understanding is the active issues or the active potential new business in the vicinity of Desert Highlands are cultivation facilities.
Mm-hmm. And again, being a resident of Palm Springs the last 25 years, I realize why they're concerned, because that community has taken some time to transform to the spot where they are in now, and again, for us to put something in their pathway to, you know, is something that I would be concerned about too.
Excellent, thank you. I know the city council meeting last week, it was a very intense conversation for quite some time, and I believe that the conversation was carried forward at city council is going to continue addressing the whole odor issue, and it was the cultivation odor issue that was brought forward. Okay, thank you for that. Homelessness Task Force, Commissioner Andrade, any update?
No update.
Beautiful. Back on housing, your dual duty here.
Yeah. Ditto.
Same difference?
Ditto.
Okay. Main Street, there was no new issues, and the crime statistics were nothing is alarming, so we're all good to go there. Organized Neighborhoods 1PS, Commissioner Gross.
Not a whole lot that's terribly new that quite frankly is relevant here, except the 1PS is on the verge of electing their officers at its next meeting, which will be the second Thursday of December. Anybody with interest in that, or well, I'll encourage you in general interest on 1PS to please do come. You'll see Bob and Paul again. They're both very active and great supporters of 1PS. But in any case, it's a good education to hear what's on the minds of neighborhoods if you have a chance on Thursday mornings. The Thursday mornings at 8, the second Thursday.
Where is it held, Jim?
It's held in a weird location in the city yard. There is, as you go out, you know where you, Jay, you could probably explain this better than I can.
Dale?
Or Dale, excuse me.
Where the rental
Car rental.
businesses are on Civic, North Civic, it curves around, and it's the city yard includes maintenance and facility departments, and then also actually the fleet operation. And sorry. Well, yes, true. Now vacation rental is located.
but there's a large.
I've been to that office, so it's
yeah.
that same.
It's right. Yeah, it's
it's
right
in that
next
complex.
to it.
What's that street?
Civic, North Civic.
Nor said that that's what I was drawing a blank on. But there is right past Vacation Rental Ordinance Office, just one spot further west. There is actually a large, I think it's used as a lunchroom for city employees, but it's also a large meeting room.
Okay, I'm gonna try to go.
And so, there's always a lot to learn there. The other thing that's really cool about those meetings, I'll tell you, is David Reddy is a regular. And David gives some really great updates as part of his regular report. And we also hear regularly from Lisa Middleton, who is the city council's liaison with 1PS. So a lot of information gets shared there about the community. So it's a good resource for that.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
And I didn't want to imply that Jay didn't know where the meetings were held. So. Sorry about that. Then, Jim, can you get information to the calendar committee on who they need to submit the application to for participation in the picnic? I don't know who would be coordinating that at 1 PS.
Yeah, well, it's well known as Joy Meredith, but I can certainly get the.
Oh, sweet. And I
Joy
guess,
or Denise, Denise Goolsby on city
oh, okay,
staff.
sweet.
Is a city staff person who is like Jay. I'm red again. Ugh. Denise is the city staff person who's liaison to 1 PS. And the role there is a bit larger than just liaison. She actually does a lot more coordination with all that. But between the two, those are the two input points for applications.
And is there a timing issue that we need to be concerned about for the picnic?
I don't know that the applications have gone out, but I have made a note to follow up with Denise Goolsby.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why don't we have this on the calendar item as an item of discussion for the next meeting, December, to determine whether the commission wants to participate? So you have enough notice in advance to contact Denise and Wooddale and get it submitted. So December will give us plenty of time for that. So you've got that added on for next month. Okay, so the Palm Springs Police Department LGBT Outreach Committee, we do have an update from that meeting. One of the items that we've been discussing is an issue of race relations within the community specific, the LGBT community and our police department, and also recruitment, specific recruitment strategy and that the police department has when reaching out to LGBT specific communities. And both topics are ongoing topics that are continuing within that outreach committee. And the recruitment process has, by raising the awareness at the outreach committee, the police department is now partnering with some other departments throughout the state to see what best practices are on not only recruitment in general, but specific recruitment to the LGBT population. So that's good news. Next item, mediation service, Commissioner Gross.
Nothing to report.
Sweet, we like that. Item C, Commissioner recruitment. Who do we have on that item? Dale, is that you? All right. Can you give me a report on that?
As you know, that we have a vacancy of one of the commissioners, and that is moving forward, as well as the potential reapplication of 2 sitting commissioners. Both commissioners have acknowledged to the city clerk that they are interested, so their names will be considered. There are 5 applicants that have submitted applications. Interviews will begin early December, and Chair will assist 2 council members in those interviews. We hopefully, as schedule moves forward, they will be appointed at the second December monthly meeting of City Council and be seated January at our meeting. So,
Okay, thank you. And we did talk about that, and I had a
senior moment.
Senior moment, thank you. Next item is the committee structure standing ad hoc committee, item D. Are we carrying this conversation forward from the meeting, last month's meeting on the rules and guidelines?
We are.
The structure of?
We are.
Okay.
Yes.
Any conversation on that, or are we firm with the discussion that took place and we can finalize?
Well, just as a lot of input about the structure of the standing ad hocs, and that people are meeting those components, and that the groups understand what they are and where we are. in them. There was a concern about just understanding what those ad hocs were. Is there any other input on those pieces?
Did we not, and I know we didn't take any formal action or anything, but in the discussion, I believe we discussed, and I think there was an element of consensus around the standing committees, essentially having the three standing committees. And then conceptually, again, we haven't finalized it or anything at the last meeting, but then ad hoc committees as needed. But generally, the ad hoc committees would tend to have a sunset and be mission or project specific, where the standing committees would be working more broadly and supporting the commission on an ongoing basis. Is that a fair representation of that discussion?
I believe it is, yes.
So can we ask November or December 10th meeting, we bring this forward and we'll approve the October discussion on standing committees going forward for 2019?
Ron, could we review what those are? I wasn't here at the October meeting.
Neither was I. That's why we're not pushing it further today.
Okay.
So we need some language.
We'll bring it back, and we need to get the notes from the October meeting.
Right. Okay.
Because I'm not sure what the consensus is, but whatever the group's consensus is, we need to formalize it, and we can do that at December.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just a general discussion, so I'll get those summary notes together and get them out as soon as possible, that you'll have a recap and familiarize yourself with, and then have it as a discussion item for next month.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on the standing committees going forward? Oops. Next item is our annual report to City Council. Dale sent or forwarded a note on October 25th to the full commission with a request for folks just to jot down notes on your level of involvement for July 2017 to December 31, 2018. And we'll take your individual comments, compile them into the overall report to City Council on behalf of the full commission. Okay? Any questions on what's needed with that?
No, but just to Dale, you need those by December 3, is that right?
That's what the chair's requested.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever. December 3 is our deadline date.
We got a couple of weeks.
And the format's just an informal email to you?
No particular format. It'll be combined, and then we'll format it.
Into a report?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thanks,
But
Dale.
yes, the format is, to the extent that there is a format, it's answering the questions that are here, so you're providing the same information that everybody else is providing.
Okay.
So just, if you follow this guideline, you're providing the information that will be compiled into the report.
Okay.
Okay?
Would it be okay if you, thank you.
I read your mind.
I appreciate that. I had that deer in the headlights look, right?
Okay, excellent. So we're on target to have that done by year end for City Council. Item F, Clean Air, Smoking, and Tobacco Use Proposed Ordinance, which we had two speakers address tobacco-related topic with us earlier with the start of the meeting. And any discussion on the conversation that's on the table? I know we were handed this ordinance. Has anybody seen the draft yet?
No, that was part of my question earlier, is there a way to read that? And is that something that's in front of the City Council right now, or it's expected to be?
It hasn't got to City Council. It hasn't arrived yet. So we're in a good position to make recommendation and endorse the draft resolution that's in front of us. We'll ask Dale, now that we've been presented a copy, we'll ask Dale to send a copy to everybody.
Okay.
I'm not sure on timing. Dale, do you know? Have you heard any when it's going forward? Or do our speakers know? Do you have a date on when it's going forward to council?
It has been suggested. It has been suggested that they may try to get it.
Oh, it's on.
It's on.
I'm sorry.
That they may try to get it on the agenda in December. It's a pretty packed agenda for city council, so we don't know if that will happen or not. But that would be the first reading at the earliest.
I can't remember, but I think one critical question, has the city attorney reviewed as far as formatting and contents?
He's the one who told us it's ready to go on their agenda when they're ready. So the answer, I would assume, is yes.
The copy that we have is his notes, those, and his, okay.
Jay, do you know what the city council meeting is for December?
We've got a 5th and a 19th. However, I don't know which agenda, if of these, this might land on. But those are the dates for the meetings.
So I think the answer to the question, timing is important. We don't meet again until December 10. So I think what we should do is get the copy out to everybody, so it can be reviewed. And then we will have to be prepared to bring conversation to the table on December 10 and move on December 10, with the hope that council won't address it until December 19.
Have you had a chance to read this already?
The ordinance?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been circulating with city council for almost 2 years, and we've been with other commissions and
So
discussed
then
it too.
maybe you know, does it, how far does the reach go? Are we talking about the rest of public spaces that in some way do allow smoking, that would be banned? Like, for example, the casino, like inside the casino?
That's tribal, so no, it doesn't
Oh,
impact
okay. But
the
you're
casinos.
but is it, so besides the casino, other places like that, like would allow it on patios, or that would all now be banned, plus like public sidewalks, that sort of thing?
Not exactly. I'll give you basically, for example, patios of restaurants and bars.
Okay.
It would cover that and create a buffer zone. And that's mostly because of the California workers' labor,
Okay.
but also for the protection of the visitors as well, the patrons of the businesses. It also addresses multifamily housing.
Okay.
It also addresses signage. That's a really important one because we have really poor quality signage in the places we do have it, such as the parks. And there's much better signage that can also be instrumental in helping a positive conversation when there is an issue. It addresses at bus stops, movie ticket lines, ATM lines, places where people queue.
Okay.
Those are some examples of what it covers.
Got it.
It does not blanketly cover sidewalks, if that's
Okay.
the question you're asking.
Yeah,
It would
I
mean
asked that
public
because I was in
events.
Laguna Beach recently, and I learned there that by watching some other people walk down the street, that was a big no-no, and some of the locals there were commenting to apparent tourists that you can't smoke here, and those people didn't know that. So I was curious if it went that far.
Did you see the signs when you're coming into town? Says-
After that, I
said
did,
No
yes.
smoking city. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are fun. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would like to request, if possible, that we do try and have this on the city council agenda on the 19th, so we can have the opportunity to look this over. I think it's important to me as a commission member that we have the opportunity to look it over and the time to comment, based on commission meeting on December 10th.
Yeah. Here. Yeah. Why don't you have a seat? I'll just pull up the chair.
As a result of having gone to the American Public Health Association conference, if I can bring that up again, this ordinance is based upon one that's was written by a group called the Change Labs, all one word, located in the Bay Area. And when we were down there, we were speaking with two of their attorneys. And they said, well, when was the last time this was reviewed? And we said, well, I think it was about 6 months ago. And they said, better have our attorneys check it over again. So I just this last week, Saturday, I guess it was, I sent a copy of it to their attorneys, and they're going to review this ordinance again. And one of the things that Paul spoke about was the signage and the enforcement of it. And I said to the attorney down there, I said, I know that you can't charge, the fee can't be more than $500 for a first offense for smoking in a park. And I said, but San Diego gets away with the signs saying it's $1,000. And he said, how do they do that? And I said, I figured it out, because they say on their signs, no smoking or littering, fines up to $1,000. And he said, that's exactly how they do it. You can't litter. A littering fine can go up to $1,000. So you smoke, that's $500. But if you throw the cigarette butt down onto the ground, that's a $1,000 fine. So when we talked about it a little bit more, and we said, okay, so what are the penalties? Well, in addition, in our ordinance that we've proposed here, in addition to cash penalties, we also said you could have up, because we know there are many people that are smoking in the parks or the homeless, and they can't afford that kind of money. We said, okay, community service. Well, they said, we didn't think about that. And I also wrote in there a proposal that they successfully complete a smoking cessation program. And they said, oh, we never thought of that one too. So that's an option. And then one of the other questions that we had was, well, what if they're smoking in a bar or on a patio? Who's responsible for the enforcement of that? And I said, oh my gosh, I forgot something. So we're having them look at the owners of the restaurant and bar being held responsible for for being responsible for penalties, instead of just the patron who's violating the law. Because if it goes to the people who own, the proprietors, if it goes to them, then that's going to be a top-down enforcement of the law that exists, and instead of hitting just the person who violates it, it's going to be this top-down enforcement of it, and it's kind of this organic enforcement of the whole situation. So, yeah, come on, if it's okay with them.
Yeah. What I'd like to interject is the concept of the ordinance is what we're really looking for a resolution of support for from HRC. The ordinance itself has been brought forth through the Sustainability Commission, and there are a couple of attorneys on the commission that are working on this, and some of them are working with the City Council, with the Special Study Group. So when you really dig into the weeds, there's some lawyers' minds who are participating in that. So I just want to let you know, not to feel the weight of having to say, this is how it should read, or this is how it should read. Your input's important, but we'll let the lawyers figure out how it should be worded, along with the city attorney and his team, because they're the ones that really make the last decision on that, and they do a really good job of it.
Obviously, we'll address it in December, but the concern is on enforcement. But also, does it specifically cover the airport, the language that we've got here?
We've included the airport in saying that the airport is a no smoking area.
So is it that it's a public place, or is the word airport is included in here?
We threw in the word airport.
In what section is that in? Do you
Well,
recall?
I don't, excuse me, I don't know that we've included it in that section, but we also know that the city attorney And Commissioners Holstage and Coors have asked us to get together, and we're going to have a meeting of the minds to go through some of these fine points, and that's one of the things that's going to be brought up if it doesn't in fact say airport in there.
So it will, public place could get defined as wherever the definition is here, and then it will include the airport.
We'll specifically say that,
Yeah,
yes.
okay,
yes.
okay, very good.
But we do define public places in there specifically as golf courses, public water parks, skate
Yeah.
parks, things like that.
But we don't have airport.
But I didn't include
yet.
airport in there. It was an afterthought.
Yeah, okay.
And while you're at it, you might want to include the Amtrak station.
Ah, good point.
Mhm.
Hadn't thought of that either.
Yeah, I don't fly very well anymore, so a lot of times when I'm traveling long distance, I do Amtrak. And
good.
I've noticed that, yeah, there
Good
a
point.
lot of smokers gravitate to Amtrak. Not that they're allowed to smoke on the cars, but what happens when the Amtrak train pulls in? That's a smoking stop. So all the smokers on the train clamber off the train and are puffing on the platform.
I wasn't aware of
Yeah, and so and so there is a lot of smoking on that platform for that reason.
Well, thank you for that.
That's an excellent point. We took out marinas because we don't have marinas here and never even thought of train stations. So thank you for that.
I have a
Jim.
marina in my pool in the backyard.
I've seen your pool, Jim. It's not that big.
On the retail permit ordinance that moved forward,
Yes.
it had a first reading, and then the commission did make an adoption approving it and submitted it as the final and second reading. So there is some latitude that we have to be able to bring it forward at another meeting.
Okay,
And the question that I have, because I kind of run into it a lot, is vaping. Does this cover the vaping that puts things out that maybe we don't all want to breathe?
Yes, it does, because what we've done is the definition of tobacco is the state's definition of tobacco, which includes all forms of tobacco, chew, the whole bit like that. It includes vaping. It also includes cannabis, and it includes all the paraphernalia that
next
goes with
question.
it. More than welcome.
okay, any other questions? So when Dale sends this out in the next few days, it's pleasure reading, 18 pages.
Oh, wonderful.
So please do spend a little bit of time going through it so we can speak to it on the December 10 meeting. Okay?
Thanks.
Thank you,
guys.
gentlemen. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for all your work that you're doing.
Thank you. And if you have any interest in hearing further dialogue, tomorrow evening, Sustainability Commission takes it on, and we'll be addressing it some more, and some of those legal minds will be discussing it. So if you want to hear some of that dialogue, that'll happen in this room
Can
tomorrow
I just ask
evening.
a quick question on,
Sure.
is there police presence on the Sustainability Committee as far as enforcement and their idea of how this would work?
I don't believe there's a police representation on the Sustainability Commission. Certainly, it's a consideration
Well,
for City
okay.
Council, but as far as enforcement, it's a really good question. I like getting this question because enforcement really is organic. It's something that happens over a period of time as laws change. There used to be a time where you could smoke on airplanes, you could smoke in hospitals, you could smoke in this very room. The reason there aren't police standing at the door telling people you can't do it is people have learned the rules and they follow them, they become normal. And that's the reason no one's smoking in city council meetings or in this meeting or other places, is because the rules are well known. And so it's an educational process. And this ordinance is by no means a new experiment. This is actually something that's happened in most cities in California, and many cities much more than here, such as Laguna, as you mentioned, which has big signs says we're a no smoking city, but Pasadena and so many others. These are ordinances that have been around for decades already. We're just behind the curve.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, next up, item G, topical newsworthy items. We can go around the table. Anybody have anything?
No, sir.
Sweet.
I have something. The Disability Festival is going, hold on, let me pull it up on my phone. The Ability Festival, Saturday, December 1st, from 9 to 2 in Palm Desert. And Judy May is the one who's organizing it with the veterans.
And if you get hungry in Palm Desert, go to the Tamale Festival. And
Yes.
is that weekend also. Jim?
Yeah, just one thing. Day of Remembrance is Wednesday night, right? Is it Wednesday?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow night. Well, then tomorrow night is,
During the Sustainability Commission meeting, I think.
oh my God. Well, anyway, tomorrow evening will be the second, I believe, Transgender Day of Remembrance memorial. Well, not so much a memorial, but awareness ceremony, whatever we want to call it, but recognizing the challenges and the losses and so forth in that community. It'll be at Grand Central starting.
No, it's here at City Hall tomorrow night.
Oh, it is at City Hall?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The program itself starts at 5 p.m. Or a little before, but there is tabling that takes place from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock.
I have nothing.
And nothing from me. So agenda items for the next Human Rights Commission meeting. I would like to invite Commissioner Sandrasina to invite the Palm Springs principal, the new principal, to speak at the December 10 meeting, if you'll take that on, please. And we've got some items that we've already talked about, setting the 2019 calendar. So the subcommittee report's going to need to move on that for our December 10 meeting. We're going to discuss the meeting time going forward, and we also are going to be able to present the Senior Resource Fair video that was made so that all the commissioners can see that. And what other items do we need to add for the next meeting?
The coverage on parades and the 1 PS, because we were talking about that there too last year, so that we have coverage in these events that we do.
When you say 1 PS, you're talking about the picture?
Yes.
Yeah.
But specifically, what are we addressing there? To the subcommittee, so the subcommittee's taking it on to make sure that we've got scheduled presence?
Yeah, I just want to be sure that we have that we're going to cover that.
That we've got it scheduled and people signed up. Sweet.
Yeah.
I had something and I just forgot it. Other items?
I have a question. I was not aware that December 10th was Human Rights Day, and I should have been. I'm sorry I wasn't. Did we do something special for that on this committee or on our agenda or anything like that?
We don't, but we're going to invite the principal to speak to us on that day.
Okay.
Any suggestions or thoughts or ideas?
That we acknowledge it in some way, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah, I think that would be a good idea, and come up with something to.
Okay,
to acknowledge
we'll
Sure.
recognize you at the December 10th meeting for that special acknowledgement.
Thank you.
Ron, again, we have to find out if he's free, because he has, I don't know, he's just about a month.
Microphone, I'm sorry.
So I probably have to email him and find out whether he's
Yeah,
available.
so if you could
that
do that,
day.
would appreciate it.
Yes. I
Sweet.
will.
Dale, on your list, did you have other notes on what we have for the next meeting?
That covers it.
The awards, that was the other item. So Jenna, we need the approval of the slate of nominees at the December 10 meeting?
Will that be covered under the subcommittee report, or you want it as a separate item?
Wherever, does it need to be a separate item, or can it come out of subcommittee? Okay, beautiful. I think we're covered then. Are we good?
Yeah.
All right, agenda items, no further announcements. Dale, Jay, nothing?
If you would like to mark your calendars, the county has established January 29th, 2019 as the homeless point in time count.
I just got that.
So more information will be forthcoming.
Okay, Thank you. Okay, it's 6:54. The commission will adjourn to an adjourned regular meeting Monday, December 10, 2018 at 5:30 PM in the large conference room at City Hall. Thank you all, and thank you.